All right, confession time. I had another donut and some cake earlier this week and told myself it was carbo loading. So now this weekend I'm out on the bike and wondering, gosh, am I going to burn this all off? How am I going to burn this all off? And realize, gosh, this is a great time to talk about EPOC. So what is EPOC, you may ask? And if you haven't heard of it, it might sound like a Nordic Marvel villain of some kind, but no, it's really your body's afterburn. It just might be, well, my secret weapon for post-dessert redemption. So what is EPOC, you may ask? Well, when you do high-intensity intervals or ride at just a harder pace than you're accustomed to, you create an oxygen debt. Your body says, whoa, we're behind on oxygen. Let's repay that. So even after you stop, your metabolism stays elevated. Oh, camera. Sorry. And that's EPOC. Excess post-exercise oxygen consumption. It's not an excuse for extra potatoes on the casserole kind of thing, which I usually equate it to, since when I dig in and tap in and build EPOC, well, I really want to eat a lot afterwards. But if your goal is to burn fat, you're missing the point. EPOC is kind of like your body's cleaning up after a messy party, a really sweaty party in this case. So let's dig into what EPOC actually is. When you exercise hard, say intervals or sprints or hills, you exceed your body's ability to supply oxygen fast enough to meet demand. That's called oxygen deficit, right? Simple concept. To keep up, your body turns to anaerobic systems like phosphocreatine, glycolysis, but those come with a cost, right? You build up byproducts like lactate, you dip into your glycogen stores, you increase your core temperature, ventilation, hormone activity. It really cranks up the gas and the heat on your body. And as soon as you stop, your body doesn't just flip a switch to rest mode. It stays elevated to clean up the mess. And that's what EPOC is. Your body's restoring homeostasis. So what's going on during EPOC? Well, there's a bunch of things, right? You're replenishing ATP and phosphocreatine stores. You're clearing lactate via the Cori cycle. You're reducing your body temp. You're normalizing all those hormones that are elevated, like epinephrine. Tired. And your heart rate stays up to meet those lingering O2 needs. Basically, your body's still working long after you stop working. So some take-home points here. Higher intensity equals more EPOC, which equals more calories burned after you stop. And EPOC can last minutes to hours, depending on the intensity. But let's not sleep on steady state, right? Long, moderate rides, like the one I'm on right now, rely mostly on aerobic metabolism. You burn a higher percentage of fat for fuel, and it's sustainable for hours. It's great. You could think of it like slow roasting those calories instead of flash frying them with EPOC. But we need to rewind to what happens before you even hit EPOC, right? In a steady state workout, like this ride, it takes a few minutes to even settle into a rhythm, right? At first, your oxygen demand spikes, but your supply can't keep up yet. And this creates a short-term oxygen deficit, right? But if the intensity is low enough, your aerobic system eventually catches up and VO2 levels off, your heart rate plateaus, and you reach what's called steady state. It's a balance between energy demand and supply. Now, markers of steady state are pretty straightforward here, right? Your heart rate rises, and then plateaus, levels off. You reach that steady state. Your exercise becomes very rhythmical. You feel like you can just keep going. You reach a nice steady cadence. Your thighs say, I can hang, and let's do it, and take you along for the ride for hours. Your energy is mostly from aerobic metabolism, a mix of fat and carbs. If you're mostly in zone 2, it's more fat. Yay! And really low amounts of lactate accumulation. You are not crashing and burning. The take-home points on steady state is right, about 60 to 70% of your VO2 max, pretty much relying on fat oxidation for energy, really low EPOC. There's still some, but not a lot. But it's great for endurance and overall energy balance and not gaining weight and able to burn fat. Which of course begs the question, let's compare the two, right? What's better, EPOC or steady state? You know, that's like asking if sashimi is better than ramen, right? It depends. If you want efficiency and caloric afterburn, well, go interval and build that EPOC. But if you want to build endurance and keep cortisol low, which is very important, go steady state. You probably put a table up here or here. Basically, EPOC or HIIT, short and intense, high afterburn, lots of EPOC, more glycogen used. On the other side, steady state, long and moderate, minimal EPOC, more fat used. So in the end, if you're chasing your donuts with data like I am, trying to beat the system, right, have your cake and eat it too, well, know your ride style. It matters. Mix in both EPOC and steady state for a lot of metabolic flexibility, and you'll burn smarter, not just harder or hotter. So a student asked me where I ride and take these videos, and see if I can do this here. I'm in the rolling hills near Black Mountain, right there. Beautiful area. I pull into the residential areas, which is quieter to shoot the videos, but this is a cyclist paradise. Realize I should probably have a graph here as well. So imagine yourself at rest, 3.5 milliliters of oxygen per kilogram per minute, just sitting in a chair. When you say, I'm going to run up the stairs, suddenly your energy requirement jumps straight up, but your oxygen consumption does not immediately match that. So you don't just go from here to here. There's this slow curve up until you reach that steady state. And then when you finish exercising, your energy demand goes straight back down to rest, but that's where the EPOC hits. There's that slow, steady return to normal with all that excess post-exercise oxygen consumption, burning those calories, returning your body to its previous homeostasis. Oh, I'm tired. And one of the really cool things about training is that you can shift that curve too. With EPOC, you can go from rest to a much quicker plateau to steady state, so you can shift the curve. And when you return to rest, you can shift that curve back down to normal a lot faster too. Which means after you take a shower from working out, you're not sweating in the conference room for an hour because the shower didn't take. It's because your EPOC returned to normal quicker.